What's up with the dog?
We don't have a dog.
We don't have a dog, not yet.
We don't have any dog.
We don't have a dog yet. So we went out, Joel and you went out to
on a Thursday.
A farm, to the Humane Society farm, and looked at a number of looked at a number of pets and a number of dogs and we put that video up right there. And then we brought the family out.
Joel and I had, we had seen a number of dogs online, and I had been back and forth talking to the administrative person about the dogs that I was interested in, and I told her that we were going, my son and I, because it was our tradition, my older son, before we brought all the kids out, that he and I were going to come out and take a look at some of the dogs that we had liked just from the pictures and the bios. And so Joel and I went out on Thursday to narrow it down, and we did. We narrowed it down to 4 good potential choices, but actually when we left there, we had kind of already eliminated Fletcher. Fletcher was a little bit crazy for our liking.
And we have enough of that going on.
We have a lot of that going on.
We have a lot of that.
We just couldn't get his attention. Cute dog, but we had, once we met him and came out, we kind of knew that he wasn't the one. But we had, Joel and I really...
So we had it down to 3.
We had it down to 3 that were really hard choices.
And we showed them in the video. So Lulu, who is the adult dog.
Beautiful, sweet girl.
And Murphy, who was the cute little Mastiff pit bull.
He's a pit bull. He was a love. Now Murphy was the one that I really connected with the most. I think most everybody can agree with that.
And the third was a hound puppy.
A hound puppy.
That hadn't gotten a name yet.
And in fact...
by the time when we did that video, that little hound dog had not... And
they had just come in that day.
They had not named the little girl dog that's in that thumbnail now.
Honey, which is why they had just gotten the hound puppies in that day. Which is why Joel and I went out to the farm that... the very same day. We wanted to hurry up because we know that puppies do go quickly. And all along, we've kind of thought we wanted a puppy. It's been a long time for us. When we had our dog Buddy, who was with us for about 15 years, he was about a 3 or 4 month old puppy. And, and he was with us that long, but we've talked about this for a long time. He's been gone for 5 years, and
He was with us 15 years.
We really had our hearts set on a puppy. And
then we brought all the kids out.
On Saturday. Well, what had happened,
2 more days.
What had happened is we had a big day planned for the weekend, and we were going to do a collab with another YouTuber, which we hope to do that in the near future and bring that to you guys. But we were, real busy that weekend. And so we weren't going to come out until early the next week because it was Easter break. But what happened is our collab canceled, Well, that happened kind of after we had gone out. But these puppies were there, and the admin girl had told me that there were a lot of applications starting to come in, and so we didn't... For the puppies, of course. And so we did not want to wait. And she had told me that we had priority because we had adopted from them previously, a long time ago.
So we had adopted rescue pets before.
And Bo came from a different organization, but Bo is Joel's dog. But anyway, we're kind of jumping all over here. So we went out there. What we decided to do is we decided to go on ahead and go out there sooner than later. So we packed up all the kids on Saturday and went out to the farm. And by now you have probably seen that video as well.
Link up there.
Because we're doing this in a 1, 2, 3 succession at this point. But we had taken the kids out just to see how they... if they connected or how they reacted to the different dogs or whatever. And you guys, our kids they're not going to be reacting in a typical way to anything. you know, let alone an animal or in anything, and especially when they're not in their own environment. So anytime we take our kids out, there's always adjustments, and there's, you know, there's things that we're dealing with. And when we're all together like that, it's kind of a lot for anybody, you know, to deal with. But the kids were great. They were great. They were all well behaved. They were all, you know, affectionate and loving to all the dogs. We took them to meet. Well, when we left in the morning, we had already eliminated Murphy. And the reason that we had eliminated Murphy is because it was really hard, because we really fell in love with him. And we were getting really excited about him and everything. But I, as a responsible parent, I couldn't do it. And I think that, and it is because he was a pit bull. And I don't have anything against pit bulls per se. I mean, as you can see, we really, you know, we just adored the dog. We could see that he was going to be a great dog. But when you stop and you consider Obed and Jesse, but especially Obed. Now, Obed plays on the floor. He plays on his stomach. Obed makes random noises a lot of times, and he makes very like jerky movements. Obed cannot talk or walk or get away from a situation. He can't call for help. He doesn't. And a lot of times I think that a dog could mistake Obed's playing or his behavior as something that a dog might be tempted to dominate. And that could happen with any dog. We, you know, we fully intend to train any dog that we get, and, you know, but we're going to be careful in who we select. And I think that as responsible parents, I mean, God forbid.
So we just made a decision.
We had made the decision
and we had other choices.
We went out there.
So we had other choices also. So, and there were other families interested in Murphy as well.
We knew that.
And so we didn't want to hold them up. We were not ready. We're not ready to make a decision.
We did meet with him, with the kids. We wanted to see, you know, but
we did, and he did great with all the kids.
He did, so. But we knew that he wasn't going to be the best choice. Now, when we left the house in the morning, we were talking about bringing Lulu home. We were pretty serious about Lulu.
So Lulu is the adult.
She's the adult Beagle mix.
Beagle mix.
Very sweet temperament. Very.
And when she met with you guys, you and Joel, in the room, in that one room, she presented, you know, somewhat aloof, but somewhat affectionate
pretty
too.
Aloof, yeah.
She was okay and mild mannered and calm and all that.
Sweet disposition, sweet
and
dog.
When we went out to the field, and we all set up on picnic tables and different, as you saw in the second video.
We spent a lot of time.
With Lulu out in the field, and some of the things that we noticed about Lulu were
concerning.
And she's almost 3, or she is 3 years old. So some of the things that we noticed about her is that,
well, she doesn't come when you call her.
She doesn't come when you call. She doesn't.
The problem is, and we do expect to go through training, but Lulu doesn't come when anyone calls her. Now, had she responded to one of the workers at the shelter? Had she responded to Joe? Had she responded to anyone? I would not have been nearly as concerned, but she kept wanting to get out of the fence, and she was very distracted to the point where I even asked one of the workers, I thought she might be deaf. And it wasn't
hard of hearing, just because.
It wasn't until I went back and looked at the videos, I saw her react to a toy. So I knew
but she seemed distracted by everything.
Yes, very badly
distracted. And was testing the boundaries of the fence, of every, you know, kind of boundary that was around her, not interested in the people or any of us that were there.
Until she wanted to. When she wanted to, then she would come up, and she was fine.
And she had been, the story of her and another hound dog that was there is that they had been abandoned in southern Virginia, and what happens? Found on the side of the road. What happens down there is there's a lot of people that use dogs for hunting,
That's the story.
And then at least that's the story we hear. And if they're not very good at hunting or they not productive, then sometimes they get abandoned, or they just may run away. So in that regard, we don't know the story for sure, but we noticed that Lulu wasn't as attentive as she could have been.
And she's not potty trained.
She had, you know, she was okay when we were holding her and with her.
Oh,
and I was guiding her around on the leash, and she was fine with that. You know, although again, not attentive to, you know, didn't seem that interested, I guess, in hanging out with us or with the kids.
So we kind of on the drive home after that, we had eliminated Lulu. And so just because we felt like if we're going to work with somebody, we want to work with a puppy. Yeah. We want to start from square one. And so we decided.
Now, in the meantime, we had checked out a number of dog training facilities and professionals in our region.
Planning to have someone come to the home
and find out what we needed for each type of pet that we were going to. So we
spent a couple weeks doing that.
We had actually looked at, a 2-week boarding school, train and board options. There's other kinds of obedience options and other things.
We're the ones who need trained. We need to learn how to train.
But there's a lot of options depending on the needs
on what you decide to do
of the dog or the puppy. So we had looked at a lot of those kind of options in light of what we learned when we went out to the farm. And then,
so on the way home, well, it wasn't even then though. We were just talking about it.
Yeah.
And then our collab got canceled, and then Joe got a call from his aunt in Florida, and his uncle. We thought we were going to lose him. He became very sick,
and went into intensive care. And so
the same weekend.
So I decided to leave.
So
and go
Joe
down to
left
with my aunt
and drove straight through to Florida. I mean, he wanted to be there for her, but he's fine. He went through some rough times. He ended up being intubated, and then
so we're very thankful and grateful. That he is
breathing on his own now, turning the corner,
and hopefully we'll be well soon.
But 2.5 days, you were driving to Florida,
being with him,
just in case,
and then driving
back, and then you had a business trip.
I had a business trip, so I was out of town for another day and a half,
nutty week,
another 2 days. So I wasn't engaged again until Friday.
But in the meantime, while you were driving back from Florida, we were talking.
Yes.
And you said, boy, I would sure hate to lose Sadie.
Sadie was the name
of the little puppy with the white feet. The little
that's now in the thumbnail that we used, and that
she was our choice.
That was pulling on the drawstring of Karen's.
We chose Sadie.
So we chose Sadie.
After all that. So as soon as we decided, I took a deep breath.
The other thing is, Sadie, because she's brand new there, she's only 5 weeks old. She can't come.
She can't leave because she's not cleared medically.
They've got all the intake to do. They've got deworming. They have tests. They have other things. They have health issues that they need to make sure those dogs are fine. And so that's a 3-week process. We would not be able to get her anyway until she's 8 weeks old.
Which was fine by us.
3 more weeks. So we wanted to put our name in for Sadie, that we were interested in her and wanted to adopt her.
They told us we could adopt her and let her stay until she was cleared. And we were perfectly fine with that. In fact, it worked out really well because, we want to get supplies and get things set up and make sure that, everything is cleared away from the floor and set up her area and, all the stuff that you do when you bring home a puppy. And so I started emailing the admin girl, and all of a sudden everything started to get a little a little odd there. And she was...
Well, you weren't getting responses.
I wasn't getting any responses.
And before, they were very
responsive and excited and happy to have us, and, you know, telling us about the different dogs and all these things. And so I told Joe that, I said, something doesn't seem right, you know. And I thought maybe they gave her to somebody else. I didn't know what had happened. And so a couple of days went by, and then finally she said, well, we'll get back with you, because I kept emailing. We don't want to miss out. We've made our decision. Yeah. What's going on with Sadie? And so she said, well, one of us will get back with you this afternoon. Well, it was...
Came away.
I don't know if it was the next day or whatever.
It did come
so I got an email. Should I read the email or just tell them the gist of it?
Yeah, just that part of it.
Well, I could read the whole thing.
Well, not from just here, this part, just that.
So this is the email that I received from the property manager, who's, he gave us an interview. You guys, they knew that we had the channel. He gave us an interview. He was great with the kids. I mean, I had no indication that there was a problem of any kind. And so this is the email that I got. Unfortunately, in our opinion, a puppy will not be a good fit for your family. As was stated when you first met Sadie, she was only 5 weeks old and had not matured enough to be active or have a personality. Now, we met Sadie the day she came in, and we came back with the kids 2 days later. Right. And the email happened 3 days later. Right. The decision.
That whole is like
that
5
was only
days
5 days
from the day they got her to the day of this email.
Now that she is older,
5 days older.
5 days older. Okay, she is much more playful and runs around a lot, mostly in front of and underfoot of staff and volunteers. They are now running through gates and are much more naughty as far as biting and stealing things, as you would expect from a puppy. Anyway, I'm trying to not be... Okay. Puppies are a family effort as far as training and handling. We believe an adult dog with a mild temperament will be the best fit for your family. If you do not think we currently have a dog that matches, please keep an eye on our website and social media, blah, blah, blah. I apologize if this comes as a surprise or disappointment. We really want what is best for the dog and for your family.
Okay, so.
Now they can choose anyone they want
to adopt
their dogs.
Their rescue pets.
They can.
Absolutely. They have every right to do so.
They have every right to do that. However, we found it kind of interesting that all of a sudden when we brought the kids out there, everything changed. And
now you've seen the video of our kids with the dogs too.
We know our kids, and you know we're not young people who are inexperienced or immature or irresponsible. We have 2 acres. We have a big house. I'm home all day long by myself. Plenty of time to work with and train a puppy. I was excited about, looking forward to going to classes, you know, and just playing with the dog. I was looking forward to the exercise, the whole thing. I mean, we even found a training program where you can get a therapy dog certification, and we were thinking down the road, depending on, you know, how things were going, we thought that might be fun, and we could go volunteer at the schools. And I mean, we had all this, you know, planned out, and we were really excited about it. And this sort of thing that happens to us all the time. Yeah. All the time, where we are constantly under scrutiny, sized up, judged, figured out based on other people's bias. And usually it stems from what they feel they could handle. And the farm manager even made a comment to me and said, boy, you really have your hands full. Yeah, I mean, I have my hands full, but we manage. We do fine. The kids are great. You know, the house is reasonably clean. I mean, we just, you know, we manage, and we actually manage pretty well.
Able to do this, and I mentioned this situation and this this denial to a friend of mine who happens to be on the board of another shelter, and I sent that section of the email to her. She says, this is something shelters do not do anymore. They don't do screening like this. It's not something that is done. And this has gotten to be on YouTube. We've looked around a little, and just on Google and searched some of this. Is they call it the third degree, where people are giving people the third degree who want to adopt a pet, and they're finding that this is bad. It's bad PR for the society, the Humane Society, because here you have a willing, loving family, capable, and is experienced in doing this in the past, wanting to adopt a rescue pet, and then this arbitrary, subjective kind of idea that somehow they know what's best for an animal they've only seen for 3 days or 4 days.
Or a family that they
just met in the last, in 30 minutes. That such a decision, can be made. And a lot of the societies they don't do this kind of screening anymore. Most of them don't want to even meet the family or anything of that nature.
I don't know what they do, but
so
here we are.
Anyway, we've asked for a follow-up. Couple of follow-ups.
Yeah, I sent several
follow-up emails.
I asked them to explain to us the reasons for the denial. I told them in no uncertain terms that it was very unfair and I felt it was
that
judgmental.
They should choose for us what we need or what might be best
for our family.
Right. Which is not true. We don't think that at this point, we've gone through this for several years. We've been pet free for 5 years. We think we know when we're ready.
We haven't jumped right into it.
And what kind of dog would fit into the family dynamic that we have today. And we made that decision.
But frankly, what we wanted to do, we chose a pet that, that we wanted to be a pet parent to.
Right. And that our kids can grow up with.
Guys, we've heard this. We've heard this with every single kid, starting with Hannah, that we have adopted. Every single one of them, from our own family members and our own friends and everything else. And we've been told, don't do it. Don't do it. You can't do it. You can't handle it. You shouldn't do it. Do you know what you're, and one would come and it's like, well, don't do it again, and then Jesse, and it's like, oh, you're not going to adopt any more kids, are you? And it's like, and this boils down to
these are well-meaning people in their own heart.
Very well-meaning people.
Yet they can't live and don't want to impose that upon their
It comes out of their own inability, unwillingness, or the knowledge, insecurities, or whatever that they have themselves that they kind of put on other people.
Right.
And it's wrong. It boils down to judgment and discrimination, and it's very, very wrong. And, and we, Joe and I, are the kind of people that we do think for ourselves.
Yes, we do.
In every aspect of life, we think for ourselves. We take all the counsel, the wise counsel, into consideration. Yep. And then the two of us, we make our decisions. We've made mistakes along the way, but mostly we've done all right for ourselves. And when we make a mistake, it's ours. We own it. We have to live with it. We handle it. Yep. And so, we're not just going to, complain about this all day long, because we're just going to move on. There are plenty of shelters out there.
And pets that
lots of pets that need families. And we're going to find our dog. We're going to find our puppy.
This was one of the things that I did some research on, this third degree of sending people through, is that if a family wants a dog, they're going to get one. They're going to get one anyway. And so whether they approve someone that's a fit or not a fit, in the end, animals need homes and families
Kids
need pets.
Dogs.
And so when those kind of things come together, and all of the other things like, you know, whether pets are allowed in the complex and, you know, all those different animals,
home.
you know, you go through that as far as the application process. So those are all passed. So when these subjective ideas come up, they're really not right. It's just not the right thing.
The appropriate thing would have been for him to call me, ask us to come in, ask us how and why we came to the decision that we did, and have a conversation with us.
Right.
And I tell you, had he done that, and had he maybe offered some
alternative
solutions to maybe some of our concerns with Lulu, he could have talked us into taking Lulu. You know, probably. I mean, he could have encouraged us a different way.
Right. And taken our perspective
that could have happened
instead of his own, and his own
rather than to just say, no, this is not a good fit for you, because boy, I get my back up against a wall when that happens.
Right, because no one knows what's the best fit.
I become very defensive. It's like nobody knows what's best for us but us. Nobody has to live with the decision but us. And you know, this other thing about sizing people up based on your own bias, it does come back to the whole thing about what's your assignment.
It does. And so sometimes you guys have seen our hashtag. We say, what's your assignment, in the hashtag under these videos. And we tag that in every video. And this is something that Karen and I have talked about for a long time. And yet we haven't shared very much of it on our channel about what's your assignment. But, you know, we have a life and a mission in our lives, and it's an assignment.
That has been assigned to us.
Right.
It's not...
We didn't choose a lot of the things that we've done. But things have chosen us, as you've said in some of our videos. So some of the situations in life choose us, and some we choose ourselves. But we understand as we've gone on that we have a specific assignment that is no one else's, and everyone has assignments that they're set up that are for them. And some people might call these or callings or inspirations or whatever, but
it's the meant to be. If it's meant to be.
It is the meant to be. And the meant to be's aren't always as people expect, and usually they're not. So,
and one person's meant to be is not another person's meant to be.
And you're meant to be, you know, it's very difficult for anyone who's not in a particular situation, and this happens with adoption, with special needs, with financial situations, with different parts of the country, different stages of life. All these different kinds of conditions change someone's assignment and their perspective of what someone else might have assigned to them. You know, this week I went down to see my aunt and uncle, my uncle's in the ICU. There's assignments of how we help and support each other in that situation. And there's others who are caring for loved ones in other situations. Or some parents are called in a homeschool environment, or...
Which I couldn't do. I couldn't homeschool. But I would never go to somebody and say,
you shouldn't homeschool because
you shouldn't homeschool your kids.
Or we've seen how that turns out. Or there's socialization issues or whatever.
Because I couldn't do it myself. I mean, that's
the
crazy.
Assignment are individual assignments.
Right. And so we should support and encourage and inspire each other, not judge, not withhold blessings from people.
Right.
So there you have it. That's what happened with the puppy. But stay tuned, because we will be having a new family member before you know it.
There will be another chapter and another video. So,
and lots of puppy fun coming up.
So in the meantime, what's your assignment? You might want to put in the comments below what you think that you've been assigned to do and that you need help with, or you need support, if people will just rally around you.
Or have you ever been unfairly assessed in your life?
Right. Or Have you assessed someone else
unfairly,
or just from your perspective and not understood their situation and made a comment or a change that might have been received a little bit differently than you thought it was going to be received? In any event, there are assignments out there. So what's your assignment? We know what our assignments are, and we're going to press on.
We know what they are today.
We know what they are today. So we're going to press on regardless. We love you guys, and we'll talk to you next time.